Hello. So yeah, what I'm going to talk about today is we did a survey out at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, around kind of cloud adoption and people moving into the mobile space. You know, cloud has been around for a long time, but adoption has been slow, right? And we know that it's gaining momentum as you speak now. You know, there's been research through Forrester, Gartner, various IDC. Various bodies talking about, you know, where cloud is and you know, how it's going to be adopted from a SaaS, from a DaaS, from a document productivity, efficiency space, whatever. So I'm just going to talk about some of the research that we did and some of the insights that we saw and patterns that we saw while taking on this research, right? So today, you know, we need to look at and see, you know, from an IT professional, you know, I come from an enterprise perspective. I used to work at Citrix, and, you know, we used to work in the mobile space, and that's all about remote working, right? That's all about, you know, enabling organizations to move into the mobile space, you know, with users working from home, working from the office, and all that, right? But there's a couple of key aspects you need to look at. You know, there's a lot of technologies. There's the latest, there's the greatest technologies. You know, companies need to look at adopting these technologies, but also looking at cost, right? One of the key factors is when moving into the cloud space is taking cost into consideration. But part of that is, number one is you need to meet the business requirements, and also you need to increase productivity, right? Today's all about productivity and efficiency for the users, right? Because you want to be able to drive that through the business. So just some of the sections that we're going to look through today is a little bit about the cloud today. We're going to look through our market research that we did, going through some of the insights on the survey, and also the impact that it has, whether, you know, you're working on the desktop, and also then, you know, the combination of the desktop and the cloud, and then just some feedbacks and findings that we have on, you know, kind of key recommendations on moving forward. So, you know, as we know today, there's a lot of different technologies. I mean, that's only, you know, a few to list, you know, but there are, you know, there's hundreds. Why do we have all these technologies, right? And the adoption of cloud has been so slow, right? The cloud has been around for, you know, I'm not even going to say 5, 10 years, but the adoption has been slow by organizations to move in. And some of the key ideas through research has been, you know, security has been a big thing, right? Mm-hmm. Where's your data being located? You know, where's your data sitting? You know, cost. You know, as cost was a big thing with the introduction of cloud, but cost has dropped as the maturity of cloud has progressed, right? Lack of efficiency. You know, some organizations saw that. Does it really drive efficiency within the organization, right? What are the benefits of it? Legacy systems. We all have legacy systems in our organizations where historically systems have been implemented and they've been around for many, many years. So the cost from shifting from a legacy system into the cloud, you know, is sometimes, you know, you've got to weigh up your options. You know, again for the protection of intellectual property, and then, you know, investments made, as I said, back to the legacy systems. You know, organizations have gone out, made this huge investment on systems, you know, whatever it may be, but, you know, what's the cost involved from moving that from on-prem solutions, whether it's legacy systems, into a cloud solution. So just some insights that we saw. So a little bit about the survey that we did is, you know, we took a very basic, I know you're probably all asking about the number of respondents in relation to some of the percentages we'll see there. We will be releasing a white paper further on which will have more detail on that. So, you know, we had 20 questions. We had various sizes of organizations ranging from 5 up to 10,000, 20 different locations throughout the EMEA region, 15 different industries. So it gave us a good scope and a good landing of insight from all different industries, you know, size of organizations, and also different individuals. You know, we had some at the C-suite, and work our way down to front office, to back office, to IT, to managers. So, you know, it gave us a good perspective on all different flavors on the respondents that we had. So, that's just going through the insights. So the first question we asked, right, was, you know, today we all work with PDFs, right? As you said, PDF is more than just a file format today, right? It's becoming something we all use on a daily basis. You know, as I said, it's been taken on by the ISO. You know, it's got standards, it's got specifications, but yet you ask the question, right? I mean, how many people actually use it, and depending on, and yeah, this can be interpreted to industries, to different areas, to functions, But from our feedback, right, what we saw was, you know, nevertheless than just reading it, right, sharing is second to reading a PDF file, okay? Now, looking at that stat and saying, okay, well, you know, one good news is less people are printing. You know, that's good news for us, right? You know, less people. So the adoption is there and the moving of the PDF usage is there. So then, you know, PDF starts off as a document or as some way, whether it's on the desktop. But how do people actually share PDFs, right? On average, from the respondents, about, you know, 6 attachments, and you can see that varies. You know, some would say 5, some even up to about 10, 12 per day. Is how many of these PDFs are actually sent through communication and sharing between, you know, whether it's colleagues or whether external entities with outside the organization. On average, they said about 6 PDFs, right, per day on the attachment. So what does this tell us? You know, email is still being used as a prime tool, you know, for files. But, you know, what do we see with email, right? We see that, okay, I send a document that I've created internally out of the organization. Where does that document land? Where does it go? You know, there's no traceability behind it. You know, the security behind it. You know, and again, a lot of these are, you know, again, to interpretation, everyone's got an opinion on this, but, you know, email is still being used as a prime communication tool, right? It's been around historically, but we're still using that. But as we see with the adoption of cloud, things are changing as well, you know, where, you know, there's more security enhanced. So another thing that we all were talking about is also with remote working. We asked the question, okay, how many people actually work from home or they're on the road, right? So out of the respondents, we only get 27% say they spend their time on the road, right? So now you're thinking, okay, I'm in the office, but I still work 70% of the time. I'm still working within the office, but a lot of my time is being spent. And through the research, this number will increase, right? And more workers will work from home. You know, there's more freelancers going to be out there. There's a lot more contractors. There's a lot more people going to be working from this. Now, you know, we're working with documents. We're working with different devices, as we'll move on to the next one there. And, you know, now, and different locations as well. So we've got all those documents, you know, we're working remotely, and, you know, and it's important for the users to say, okay, listen, I've got all this data, but I need to be able to access it remotely, right? We all know smartphones, iPads, laptops, you know, I think it's on average now every person's got more than 2 devices, whether it's a phone, an iPad, and a laptop, you know, and to be able to switch agnostically, okay, well, I need to work on my iPad, right? I need to work on my phone. I need to be able to do the same what I'm doing on an iPad than what I'm doing on my laptop, right? So it's switching and being able to use the flexibility of moving data and being able to access different devices. So again, you know, from the insight that we saw there, majority of the workers are still working within the office, but they see the value of working remotely, right? We're all seeing that. It's a shift and it's a trend which we've been talking about for years, right? But it's also being able to access from any location and any device. So as that shift and as that move from historically coming to the office, you had a desk. Now we're moving into, you have a hot desk, or you might come into the office maybe once a week. You know, you don't even have a cabinet with a drawer. You know, you come in, you log in from home, or you just work from home. You know, that's where we're moving, and you know, that's the trend that we've seen. So going on to that, and some of the technologies we asked about, that's only some of the vendors that we asked about. But you know, we asked, okay, well, what are some of the technologies or online services that you use, right? And some of the usage was, as you can see there, right, only about 40% of the people use any cloud services, right, or online services, where we can see, you know, about more than, or just under that 50% don't use any, right? Now, with this, how is this going to enable me with having 3 or 4 devices, right? I work in the office, but I work from home maybe once to twice a week, right? I've got all this data. You know, it's going to kind of limit, and it's going to, you know, going to not really make me productive, right? I need to be able to be flexible, multiple devices, work from any location and any place, but doing the job where I can, right? Because for me to do, the more I work, the more efficient I am, the more productivity I bring, right? Depending on what you do. Now, from an online file storage point of view as well, we said, okay, well, you know, which of the following online services you currently manage or use? So we see, okay, well, about 40% use online services, but we see that more than 57% of people actually use online storage. So what does that tell me? Right? People are sharing documents via Dropbox and online sharing, right? So, as we can see, you know, and all of that is done from within desktop. So desktop applications are still the preferred method. You know, we see that by most people still working within the office. You know, however, they store them and they share them via cloud. Okay, so some see the trend that I'm going down and some of the insights that we've seen through the research, right? Now, another one of the questions that we asked was e-signing, right? E-signing is a topic that, you know, especially over the last, I'd say, 12 to 18 months has been something that's come on a lot board, and a lot of companies are seeing the benefits of it, right? So we asked them the question, which of the following tasks do you think is difficult to perform, right? So we saw there, all right, less than 25% people, or most people said that signing documents is difficult within the cloud. However, we asked them, how many of you actually use it? You know, 70% of them actually don't use any e-signing solution. So what does that tell us? A lot of people are still using pen and paper, right? A lot of people are still using and doing things the old way, right? But you'll see the story gets better as we move on, okay? As we said, you know, employees are finding it challenging to complete online tasks, but yet a lot of them aren't even using it to share and collaborate some of the documents. So now coming back to, you know, moving from the cloud, you know, we talk about perpetual licensing, or let's say a once-off fee, moving into subscription. So now we asked the question, we said to individuals, and we said, or the respondents, we said, okay, what do you prefer? Do you prefer subscription? Do you prefer a once-off fee? Or, you know, no response. So most of the respondents came back and said, well, you know, I like to buy a piece of software and own the piece of software, you know, a once-off fee, right? A lot of people haven't even got to the concept of subscription. But again, as we move into the cloud side of things, that will change, and you know, the subscription will change, and that will be an increase, right, as people move into the cloud side of things. Now, going to Insight 5, as we said there, you know, we'll be talking about that they're still preferring perpetual licensing or once-off payment rather than moving into any subscription model. So back into the cloud usage. Now we can see the trend. Okay, we're working on the desktop. You know, a lot of people are using online to share documents. We're still using old email communication. We saw that people are still not using e-signing technologies. So people are still using the old way, pen and paper. The good thing that we did see is people are printing less. But however, you ask the question, you say, okay, well, are you going to move into the cloud? Or, you know, what do you think is your company's cloud usage going to be over the next while? 61% have said that, yeah, we are going to be using cloud, or they're going to be increasing cloud over the next while. Okay. Now, as we move on as well, we asked them the question, we said, okay, over what period do you think you'll be adopting cloud or moving certain, let's say, there's different elements of cloud, but certain, you know, structures, whether it's CRM, you know, whether it's e-signing, you know, whether it's online storage, moving into the cloud side of things, right? If you look at all the different services, more than 50% of the respondents said that there will be a cloud adoption, you know, over the next 12 months. So now we can historically see the adoption has been slow, but the next, you know, 6 to 12 months is going to be rampant for a lot of organizations moving in from usual on-prem to cloud solutions. You know, so we can see that trend. You know, it's like anything, it takes a wheel, slowly starts turning, but once you start putting the gas on, it just gets momentum and keeps on moving. And so we can see there's a complete shift into the cloud space. So, you know, the takeaway from that Insight 6 is a lot of employees there say that cloud adoption will be increased over the next 12 months. So again, just coming back to our first slide or earlier slide that we saw, some of the cloud killers, right? Some of the things that we've seen here. Now we asked them what are some of the factors which, you know, are your main concerns. And again, of course, security is number one, right? We raise security, reliability. But if you look at some reports, right, You know, I was quite surprised when I saw that, because if you think about the amount of downtime that an on-prem solution may have, right, where a lot of cloud providers actually, you know, guarantee 99.999% uptime, because you can never guarantee 100%, right? So reliability was a good, was quite an interesting one for me. Privacy, you know, again, data. Where's your data located? You know, being in the EU, each country has its own legislation, and there's certain, you know, policies that you have to abide by. Legal, and then at the end of the scale is cost, right? So we're telling, okay, people pay perpetual, but cost is really kind of down the bottom end of the scale of moving into the cloud. So if I think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the way I see this is, again, if you meet the bottom three, you know, cost will already move, and this, you know, enables organizations to move into the cloud and have a better perspective, because, I mean, security is the big thing, but cloud has been talked about for many years, and again, yes, security, but security is on for any on-prem solution as well. So just some summary about some of the findings is, you know, businesses still heavily rely on desktop solutions, you know, within organizations. You know, as I said, we've been talking about cloud, but we're moving away from that a lot more. We're working remotely, so we need to be able to access data. You know, it's all about the consumerization of IT. You know, bring your own device. You know, we've got multiple devices, but I need to be able to work from here. I need to be able to work from the canteen, outside, whether you know, my battery on my iPad is flat, whatever. I need to be able to interchange devices, being able to do that. The demand and the value does not translate the cloud usage, right? So the demand is there, right? But the usage, we can see the usage of cloud at the moment, the current present from the responses, is low, okay? So again, we're still moving in, and payment cost, yet we saw payment down the bottom end of the scale. But preference for organizations and customers are still the ones of payment. You know, it just shows you the shift in the trend from the old historically paying once for a license, and I own that, and that's my piece of software, whereas I'm moving into a subscription model, right, and utilizing the cloud side of things. Security data might hold back businesses, right? That's a big thing. So, you know, if you be able to overcome these challenges, you know, the adoption will be easier. Businesses have adopted cloud technologies. We've seen have increased and plan to increase the usage over the next 12 months. So what next? So what do we do next? So the question is, you know, cloud mobility, you know, needs to be thought of as part of business strategy these days, right? Otherwise we're going to be left behind. You know, cloud is just where we're moving to, and we can see larger organizations moving into cloud spaces with different cloud technologies, right? Not just small, you're talking about tens, 50, 100,000s moving into different services of the cloud side of things. So it has to be part of core business strategy, you know. Finding the right solution to meet the requirements. You know, there's no point in me making a decision I'm going to move to cloud if it doesn't meet my business requirements, right? Of course you need to look at your business requirements. Again, the big thing is for the cloud is you need to satisfy security. What data is going to be there? Where's your data going to be set? You know, whether it's a hybrid solution, you know, whether it's pure cloud or you're having a hybrid, whether it's a mixture of both, okay? You need to acquire a simple mechanism, because transitions like this is, okay, now we've got large organizations, we need to be able to plan, we need to be able to move the shift from organization processes, flows, you know, from within on-prem to the cloud space, you know. Also, you need to look at affordable pricing, right? Looking at the pricing options. What is the best suited for your user needs of the organization? And again, then secure service support, because ultimately it's all about the user experience within the cloud, right? Cloud offering 24/7 support, reliability, it needs to be stable, you know, and it needs to be able to scale, right, that we looked at, and reliable at the end of the day. So, in the document world, after all that, what do? Documents start on the desktop at some point or the other, right? We share them, they transition out from the desktop, whether it's using the cloud, you know, or email. So what do we do at Nitro? Right, we accelerate organizations, we help organizations work with digital documents on the cloud, being able to transition them out from the desktop straight into the cloud and then back to the desktop, right? So it enables them to work faster, collaborate, and manage documents with ease of security and traceability, anywhere, anytime. So here's just an example and a use case of one of our customers is Adrel, right? They're one of the world's fastest growing retargeting advertising companies. So what they did was they processed a lot of documents and they adopted our technology. So some of the ROI there was to turn around signatures. Them was sending out, whether it's contracts, whether it's HR contracts, they were able to turn around that quite quickly with sending out documents online using the cloud solution, and actually, from a factor of minutes to seconds, get those in. That improved efficiency, that improved productivity, that improved return on investment. It cut time as well for processing documents with 200 employees in the organization by more than 50%. That just shows you there's a massive increase in productivity and efficiency, and that ultimately all boils down to the return on investment. Driving the revenue within the organization. So, just in conclusion, what do we need to look at is IT managers need to manage the mobile workforce. We need to look at strategy, mobile being a strategy today, being the norm, right? Because we're all working remotely. We need to look at the latest technologies. We need to maintain cost efficiencies when looking at these technologies. And of course, part of this is all about driving efficiency and productivity, right, to meet your business requirements. So, any reason more? Just some research by various vendors there. We can see that the remote working force is going to be 63 million Americans will telecommute or work from home, and that was done by Global Workforce. Transit, as I was mentioning earlier, a lot of the working population, about 40% of them are going to be freelance workers or contractors, which meaning that they'll be working from any location, anytime. Mobile, as we see, we're already in 2015. We already know we've all got our iPads, we've all got phones. Reaching out to 1.3 billion, and that's the IDC study, right? With 30% of them of the total workforce. Then again, by Forrester, cloud usage is emerging and it's accelerating now. It's been around for a while, but it's really getting momentum now. If you look at this consumerization of IT, different devices, it's only really taking off now, and we've seen the trend. We've seen the momentum of the adoption by organizations. The cloud market is going to expand to 250 billion. That's a survey done by Gartner. And then we were talking about earlier on about e-signatures, and still a lot of people working with a pen and paper and using the old way of working, where the Forrester predicted that by 2017 700 million transactions will flow through the e-signature. I know that was quick and I rambled on that, but thank you very much. And any questions? Sure.
In your research,
yeah,
that a lot of communications have to be via email.
Yeah.
What is about social networks? Also, inside our company, we no longer use email, so everything is by messaging.
Right.
Is it something you also address?
We mentioned some of the social networks, but if you look at the communication side of it, a lot of it is, taking that message from within the organization to external of the organization, right? So, I mean, you probably use a lot of Twitter, but if you send documents, how would you send documents from within your organizations to external, maybe third-party vendors or customers outside your organization? Are you going to use a social media site, or how do you use online storage, or do you use email?
So we also use messaging for partners, so for example,
okay,
I like Skype to communicate.
Okay.
Or partners with which I communicate regularly.
Right. Okay. And then would you send documents that you needed to, or a proposal of some sort through Skype to the partner, or would you send them an email?
Usually we have a Dropbox.
Okay, so yeah, as you can see there, a lot of people use the storage, right? So there's an example on the research. But as you said, yeah, so the people that have using a Dropbox account, that's slowly but surely on the increase. That's only one of the cloud services that we've seen. But primary, yeah, to answer your question, a lot of people are moving and shifting to that social, whether it's Link, you know, whether it might be Skype, whatever social mechanism there might be. Internal organizations, you tend to see that they're using Link or using some sort of social network, you know, whether it's Chatter on Salesforce, for example, some sort of social mechanism within the organization. But then if you think about everything that resides within the organization, transitioning that out of the organization to partners, vendors, customers, is predominantly done through email. Okay.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, the main concern is security. Do you have recommendations on this? How to secure any cloud storage? Because the typical nightmare for any company would be that somebody uses access to, well, Dropbox, for example, from a mobile device, and just forgets this mobile device in a cafe. And the mobile device is not protected by a password.
Right.
And this means that's
anyone can access it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no one straight recommendation for that, right? I mean, that's where, you know, organizations need to look and see what solutions are provided for them, right? Whether it's, you know, mobile device management, if it is something in that case where you might have a corporate device which is managed by a device. So if you do leave it, you know, there has to be it. Whether it's Dropbox, what is the corporate policy with regards to Dropbox, right? Where if you had something in relation to, let's say, a cloud service, let's say, I'm just using for Nitro as an example, right? It's not an online storage, but it's a place where you store your documents, and you won't be able to get access to that, right? Because you need to authenticate to that, right? Without even saving a password or caching passwords on device.
There are services like Proton. I don't know if anyone knows them. That encrypts your files even on Dropbox. So there are ways to.
There are different ways.
There are ways to secure your files, even if they are on the cloud storage.
You didn't mention the workable software like SharePoint, which is the most common way of communicating internally at the moment. Yeah, are you calculating that as a cloud service, or is it something else? Because email is more or less disappearing in internal use.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, SharePoint functionality varies, right? I mean, it's quite a vast product, right? It's many different avenues. There's many different configurations. For example, you can just send a link to someone internally. But again, we're talking about internal organization, right? This is based on, if you look at it on outside organization, right? If you took a document from SharePoint and you had to send it to me, for an example, how would you send the document to me? Would you send it for a Dropbox, or would you attach the document to an email and send me the document? How would you actually take that document from on-prem to externally outside your organization?
Yeah.
So SharePoint is predominantly, I see it, unless I'm wrong and anyone knows different, SharePoint is on-prem solution, internal infrastructure.
It's of course depending if you're a partner, then you can have access.
Yeah, through whether there is linkages and things like that, but it was probably still contained within the internal wide private network, right? So,
I have a question regarding your numbers.
Sure.
Cloud adoption. I do believe that there are very significant differences in markets. Germany has different cloud adoption than the US or other countries in Europe. You have sort of aggregated all this.
All of that together, yeah. We'll expand a little bit more on that, breaking it down by, as I said, we had 28 different countries within the EU, and you're absolutely right. Certain EU states are different to other EU states, right?
At least be interesting to have those who are reluctant, a group of countries maybe that are slow, those that are really going for it, and where is the kind of medium,
Absolutely, we'll expand on that, because when we did the analysis, we kind of broke it down into industry per region as well, right? So as we do that and we do the report, we will break it down on an industry scale, but also on a per region basis as well. I mean per region, EU country, to say as where you can see the relationships where, for example, as you said, like, things might be a little bit tighter in Germany, where the adoption might be a little bit slower than other countries, right? With different services, and we've broken it down by services as well. So when you see that kind of connection or that relationship there, it kind of gives you a good picture. Yeah, so we kind of kept that up for the slide, and just went very high level with some of the findings that we found. Sure.
Yeah, so you have a great use case for signatures, right? And I love the data that showed lots of people were interested, but everybody was afraid of doing digital signatures on the desktop, right? So is there another use case for mobile? I mean, I think that's the killer use case for going mobile, but is there something else that people use mobile for? I mean, sure, they can mark their documents up, they can read them.
Yeah. So I mean, they do. I mean, markup, sharing documents is a big thing, right, for the mobile side of things. E-signing is being, driving the efficiency with the contracts, or that kind of thing. But it's also document approvals, document workflows, right? I need a document now, but I need it to be approved by someone. What do I do, right? Being able to transition that it starts off, as I said earlier on, from a desktop somewhere, but I need to get it approved by my manager, which is sitting in the Caribbean somewhere, right? But I need his initial. Doesn't have to be a signature or a stamp or some sort of thing to say, okay, listen, please approve this document. Or I need someone else, I need someone in the legal team, particularly in the legal team, to review a document, right? Which gives you the ability then to push that in flight, and you can review documents as well. So, like you said, I mean, mobiles, there's different applications, different use cases for everything. But as we're moving from the usage of digital documents, right? That document starts. There's a lot of functionality within the documents, but that document fundamentally ends somewhere, right? And it happens. What happens in the middle is it starts on the desktop or starts in the process somewhere. Whether it's an automated process or whatever, but it fundamentally ends somewhere as well. And it's using technologies to automate that, to leverage that, to drive efficiency and productivity based on that usage of a document from start to end.
From a road warrior point of view, one of the biggest problems I see is connectivity.
Sorry, from a which?
A road warrior,
right?
Mobile.
Yeah.
Do they talk about connectivity? Do they talk about the fact that they can't get access to mobile networks and therefore can't work because their documents are in the cloud or not on their device, for instance?
No, that's not something that we've gone through. But depending, I suppose that's quite a valid question, and depending where you're roaming, right? Telecom providers now are building robust networks. They're looking to, we go into the 4G side of things now. There are companies out there looking to put a Wi-Fi in every city, free of charge. There is, so that is one of the I think as a norm now, you look at it being that connectivity is not so much of an issue that it used to be previously, right? Where my parents are based in a farm, in the outskirts of South Africa somewhere, right? That's connectivity problems because they don't even have a telephone, right? Where today connectivity is not really seen too much of an issue. I think that's not really something we ask because as I assume, like that I've got my phone and I might get a edge signal or something, but in most cases connectivity is not really seen as being too much of an issue unless you're somewhere out back or you're out in in the middle of Africa somewhere or something like that where there is no Wi-Fi or there is no telecoms provider and there
So it's interesting that my watch is one of these health watches.
Right.
Stores my data. So I was in the hotel room yesterday. It was interesting to see how my heart rate had gone through the day. But my Fitbit app wouldn't allow me to process that information because all its processing is in the cloud and I couldn't get it.
Right.
In work, that's a big problem. I mean, if you get access to the actual processing part of your daily job, then that's a huge problem. It's interesting that people don't seem to have that.
Yes, no, that's a good point. And then looking at, I suppose if you're going to go look at somewhere where there might be connectivity issues, what you might try and do is work on an offline mode of some sort to say, okay, listen, I need to be able to process documentation in an offline manner, depending on what it may be. Whether it's it's like syncing your email, for example, right? So saying, okay, I need to sync my emails. I'm on a plane which doesn't have Wi-Fi, but I type on. But as soon as I walk into the airport, it connects and everything goes. right? So it's being able to, you know, I suppose look at your workflow and look what you'll be doing as well, and you know, signing documents, whatever document process or, you know, functionality or whatever you might be doing, right?
Okay, thanks a lot, Garth.
Sure.